is Brooke, and every week we talk about movies, whether it's movies we like, movies we don't like so much, why we do or do not like said movies, and making movies. So if you're a film nerd, this podcast is for you. So, to kick off our episode this week, here are some studio notes. Okay, the first part I want to talk about in the studio notes is the Toy Story 5 premiere and Taylor Swift bringing her own original Toy Story VHS to have people sign to the premiere. So obviously, she was invited as she's contributing this massive song to the film, right? But I just saw from Hollywood Reporter that she brought an original VHS copy of Toy Story to have everybody sign. And I I love it. That is a brilliant idea. I just thought, especially with what we're going to talk about this week, I thought that was an amazing note to find, and it just made me happy. So, for those of us that were around in ye olden days of VHS, we can all appreciate the collector's editions of a Disney VHS. Little Mermaid, anyone? Looking at you. Yeah. So, I thought that was really cool. I had a lot of fun seeing that. The second studio note for this week is so many trailers dropped. And the biggest one that's sticking out to me is Fall 2. So, if you have not seen it, it is a very good watch. In fact, seeing the trailer for Fall 2, I hadn't watched Fall in a while. And I really enjoyed that movie. Like, I really, really enjoyed that movie. It's a thriller. It's an adrenaline ride because it is basically Fear of Heights on steroids. And so seeing the trailer for the sequel made me want to rewatch it. It put me in the mood to rewatch the original. It was really intriguing, the differences in what I saw in the trailer for the second one. And I'm enjoying the hype of the trailers I'm seeing lately. Like, I feel like a lot of the trailers I've seen have been really, really well done and have almost kind of been their own piece of content for many years, pre the era of social media that we're in right now. The trailer was a means to an end. Yes, you wanted it to intrigue people, but I don't know that many people were like nitpicking things in a trailer, were really dissecting trailers. Were like I don't know that the hype around trailers was as big of a deal as it is now because we have the interneting and blowing things up. But I just have noticed that the last little bit too, that most trailers kind of have their own moment, and it's it's really fun. And so all that to say, I was very excited by what I saw in the Fall 2 trailer. It's called Fall 2 Dead Point, which sounds like it's going to be even more of a playing on my fear of heights. But we'll see. I'm definitely going to watch it. And I'm excited for it. Comes out in September, so just a few months, which is yeah, a nice little window of oh, I get to see that in a few months. It was exciting. So, anyways, if you haven't seen that movie, I definitely recommend seeing the first one and check out the trailer for the sequel cuz it looked interesting. It was really good. And it just made me appreciate trailers. So if you have a trailer you've seen recently that has really caught your attention, let me know. And the final studio note for this week is social media strategy is really getting on par for film promotion. So the first way I saw this was in how Scream 7 has used social media in a very unique way. I think they really understood how to mesh their personal content from the Scream universe towards content for social media, and it worked really well. And I actually really was impressed by their social media strategy for promoting the film. The next movie I'm seeing do this really, really well, which I guess it shouldn't be surprising, is Scary Movie 6. It may be they have watched the Scream 7 promo. Completely possible. It's Scary Movie. But I'm noticing it with them too. Like the way they're using the social media strategy is being done so well and so on par with their branding of that movie and the audience for that movie, and really speaks to that audience. And I just really was impressed by it from what I've seen so far. And I think I think one of the biggest things that is going to continue to grow is social media strategy for films. Not just studios promoting films anymore, but an actual legit, like the movie itself having a social media strategy in the marketing, and significantly so. And I think it just speaks to so many more people are seeing and learning about things on social media platforms before they're ever going to see a normal TV commercial or billboard. That I just really think the uniqueness is them embracing that and fully going with it in their own true to the film way. And that's why it's done so well and why it works as well as it does. Because Scary Movie 6 is killing at the box office too. So that's that story. I just have really appreciated seeing it. And it's nice to see what I feel like is refreshing things happening in the film industry. And that is this week's studio notes. Okay, I mentioned in the Taylor Swift studio note that VHS might be a part of what we're talking about this week. And that is because we're talking about distribution and how distribution has changed in films. It's massively changed. I guess that's probably obvious if you have kept up with films at all. I mean, really, unless you're living under a rock, you've learned about streaming and YouTube and what those things at least are. So there's that. And not only have we added new ways in, but it's really been more of a replacement. And the VHS kind of proves that. I wanted to take just a second to share a new way that I have set up to support the podcast. So, on my website, I had set up memberships, and each tier got different things. I found it becoming too complicated. There was too much busyness going on. So, I went back to our Patreon account that Butterfly Entertainment has, and I adjusted the tiers a little bit. There are two tier options now. One to be a studio member and get some early content, behind the scenes content. And then there's the producer circle, which gives you all of the access to all the other things that the studio members get, but also an ability to be credited on select projects and credited on select projects, and have input and feedback on select projects. So, if you are looking for a way to support this podcast, to support the films that I make, head to Patreon and join us there. And I'm really excited to see what Patreon grows into. I do also like to mention, if you're looking for a super quick one time way to support the podcast, I will have the link to Watch Like a Butterfly. That is always helpful and supportive and appreciated. And I hope you enjoy it. Now, back to the episode. VHS aren't being made anymore. Not even every movie is getting this massive DVD release. And usually, if they are, it's Blu ray. It's a special edition. It's a big deal. It's 4K. It's all of these collector terms that are specifically preaching to the audience that are going to want to collect physical media. Because even though in my episode on physical media, and if it was still necessary, I preached that it was. Because you don't know when Netflix will stop having that contract for that movie or TV show, and having a physical copy yourself guarantees you can watch that whenever you want. It is still not an overly common thing for people to buy a DVD or Blu-ray of a movie. VHS not being made anymore makes sense. Like, technology has just passed it. But physical media in general has become a collector's thing. People just expect, like, oh, I'll just watch it on Netflix or HBO or Paramount Plus or whatever the streaming platform is. And so I'll just watch it on there. I'm fine. I don't need to spend the 15-20 bucks to buy a DVD. I don't even know if most DVDs are that expensive. I guess it depends on what edition of it is. But people don't think it's necessary anymore. And so the distribution of movies has not just added this other way of distributing a film, it's changed the main distribution of film. Most modern distribution plans include theaters, unless you're doing a only straight to streaming thing, and then PVOD, paying for video on demand, and then streaming, where it's on one of the streaming platforms and subscribers to that platform can watch it. And that has changed distribution in a way that changes demand, that changes how you market it, because you have a very specific way you are trying to get people to watch it. And it is no longer, hey, go buy or go order this movie, or go rent it at a Blockbuster, if I want to add to the millennial vibes. And it's changed the consumer's expectation of where to find movies. We have trained ourselves that whatever is on streaming platforms is kind of just all that's there. When really, you could argue there are a lot of films that are made that don't end up on streaming platform of some kind, or at least not prominently so. And I think that change in distribution also changes how filmmakers think about the film they're making. Would this do well on distribution? Is this going to be a type of movie picked up by a distributor when those distributors are all partnering with streaming platforms? Is a streaming platform going to want this? And if not, how else do I get my movie in front of people? In some ways, it has made movies more available. And in others, it has made it maybe even more difficult to get eyes on your movie because you are fighting for the attention with such a bigger crowd. And I think part of that is now starting to come to fruition, where you do see things like the marketing plan for Scream 7 and Scary Movie 6, where they're really going after social media. They're really hitting it hard on social media, and in a very unique way, they're, pulling in their Scream fans, they're pulling in their Scary Movie fans. And it's it's all in response to, well, it takes this much more to be heard because there's so much more out there. And the flip side on the consumer side of that is I I'm so overwhelmed by what's out there. I don't even know how to find things I would like. Like what do I even do to go somewhere I know there's going to be films I want to watch or TV shows I want to watch? It's a lot of content to filter through to find things you would like. And there's a lot of different content vying for your attention. And I think this is a part of things that we're still adjusting to because it's been constantly changing so much and growing and becoming even bigger of a thing. It's something the industry and the consumers of the industry are still figuring out. It's still in flux, I feel like, because we haven't settled on the sustainable pattern or routine with it that includes that whole line of distribution where it's movie theater, PVOD, streaming. And I think to me, it becomes needing to answer that question of, on the consumer side, which platform has most worked for me with finding what I like? Which platform do I find it the easiest to find things I'm enjoying on? Not just what has the most I enjoy, but also what makes it the easiest to find things and find new things. Like, not just watch Friends for the 40th time, even though Friends is amazing, but find something new. And of course, as a filmmaker, I'm also thinking about, what does that mean my distribution plan should be for my films and what's going to be most successful for my films. And I think it's an interesting conversation, especially navigating it while everybody's kind of still figuring it out and reacting to the massive changes that have happened. And I again want to say, I do not think streaming is bad, or not having as heavy physical media is necessarily bad. But I think there's a healthy balance that the industry is working to find. And it just really intrigues me to think about how much it's changed, and not just, oh, this new technology came in, but how quickly those new technologies outdated pretty much everything else very, very quickly. And it's exciting to see new ways of sharing things, to have at my fingertips the ability to share things, and to, in that way, have it be probably the easiest it's ever been to make and release a film. But also, I'm strategically thinking, how do you adjust and actually have it be seen successfully? This is a new model for this that everybody's learning. So you kind of have to learn from a bunch of different areas on different tools that might help with that. And it'll be interesting to see how the industry as a whole kind of reacts to it, how the studios specifically adjust. And I think we've started to see some of it with some smaller studios. And I'm excited to see how things adjust. I think it will balance out. I do. I don't think the film industry is going anywhere. But I think we're in a time of transition within the film industry. And as consumers, I'm rooting for success in this. So I would like to know, how have you guys felt with this adjustment? Has it been good? Has it been hard? Are there specific aspects of it that you either really, really like or really, really don't like and have had a hard time with? I would love to hear your opinion. And if you have any specifics for where you would like to see this all land as the industry adjusts, let me know your thoughts. And with that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you guys next Wednesday. Bye. The Studio Sessions is a Butterfly Entertainment production. You can keep up with all of our podcasts, YouTube videos, films, and other projects on our Instagram page. We are at Butterfly Entertainment Group. Thanks for listening.